So you're watching this game Saturday night. Take us
there.
through your emotions. You were there.
I was
Where
there.
were you sitting?
Wow.
In the only section safe, which is the BYU section.
So you're in the
So
corner?
you're by my
I'm in
wife.
the corner. I'm right above the cheerleaders.
Okay.
And I want to be really transparent and honest because I'm as big of a Cougar fan as it gets.
Yeah.
I said to my wife, if he doesn't get out of the end zone on this one and get a first down, let's go.
Okay.
Oh.
That's fair.
Because there's a couple of minutes left.
Thousands of others were thinking that,
I
too.
wasn't trying to send a message. I just wanted to beat the traffic. That was it.
Yeah.
And it was a record crowd. So you
was
got
a
the
huge
masses
crowd,
up there.
and to be real honest, because we were on the left end of that section, so we're really just across the aisle from a lot of red shirts, and they were really getting aggressive as it became evident to most. So it looks like Utah's going to win. They were getting loud.
Sure.
I just didn't want my wife and I to be stuck in the middle of that. So we were booking down the steps as soon as he got sacked in the end zone. I'm like, we'll listen to the rest of it on the radio. And then they said, wait, there's a flag.
Hold on, everybody.
And we hit the brakes at the second to last row, pulled back into the bleachers, sat back down. And for the next, 60 seconds, I screamed like a little girl continuously. And it was really amazing to watch and to experience. And I get a little philosophical with people, and so I think sometimes I sound like some sort of a weird like BYU hippie, and I don't mean to be that. But here's my take on what happened.
Okay.
So football, I'm a third generation football player. We were born and bred for this sport. I was recruited to play BYU in 1984. I was on a high school team in Oklahoma that won the state championship. I took my trips to OU, OSU, TCU, and BYU. Those were my visits. Got to sit across the desk from Lavelle Edwards, and
awesome.
That is my greatest BYU experience. Was that?
Oh, all right.
That 15 minutes. But one thing that everybody has when they walk on a football field is an offensive defense and a kicking team, right? A special teams.
Yeah.
There's a fourth pillar that not everybody has, and BYU has it. And it's that one that everybody kind of plays it down, but I think that the world's having to start accept it, which is the fourth pillar is culture. And what happened at the BYU-Utah game was a clash of cultures. And the offenses and the defense and the special teams battled back and forth, and we all saw the game. We know how that was going down, and nobody could tell for sure from minute to minute what was going to work and what wasn't.
Yeah.
But when the last second ticked off, culture won. And part of that evidence is unfortunately what happened after the fact, right? Because culture is always built from the top down. There's no such thing as culture that flows up. It doesn't exist.
And culture is not religion.
Not even a little bit.
This isn't a religion. They call it a holy war and all that stuff. We don't call it that. But it's not. You're not talking about religion of God shining down on one side or the other. Culture is different.
It is different. And it is a feel, and it's an energy, and it's why we're yanking big fish out of the portal, even though we're not throwing the biggest checks at people.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, there is a certain amount of money that's enough for some. And they're like, okay, now I also have to make sure I enjoy myself. And when these kids are making these visits, they're seeing the same thing you see everywhere. AstroTurf field, big stadium, lots of cool stuff. And then they spend enough time to feel the culture. And that's why we win great athletes. That's what happened Saturday. And that's what broke down for Utah. And as we saw, and I don't want to point fingers and be mean because enough has probably been said about it in the world, but from the top down, from the comments that were made by the AD to the comments that were made by the head coach, to the bottle that flew out of that crowd, knocked out our cheerleading coach, to the things that were being shouted at us in the BYU section from the red side of the field, culture fell apart while ours held together. And there's little pieces of that culture that I don't even think people know about, right? Like little tiny, like, so
That's great.
I'm a big fan of Will Ferrin. But when people are watching on TV, as soon as you make a field goal, they go to commercial. And what people don't see is Will Ferrin, who's the kicker, who now has to get his butt out to the middle of the field for kickoff, right? He goes from mindset of make this field goal to mindset, I got to bury that thing in the end zone now. But instead, he runs to the sideline and he stands there. If you're at a game, you'll see this every single time. And he greets every single member of the kicking team who's coming off and expresses his gratitude to every one of them. Now, I've been to a lot of games. That's not what kickers do. Kickers run off and they swap tee. They grab the tee and they run to the middle and they get ready to kick off. But that's not because Will's just amazing. That's the culture.
Yeah.
That's hard to beat. You cannot scout culture.
And you know what? The culture of this team now is they believe in each other. When the offense was struggling at the beginning of the year, the defense was carrying them, but nobody on the defense got on the offense.
Yeah.
They said, it's okay, they'll come along. They're going to win some games for us.
Right.
When the offense had a lights-out game and the defense struggled, the offense didn't get on the defense. They said, that's okay, defense. You had us early. We got you now.
Yeah.
And when the special teams needed to win games, they've won games. There's not been any of this. And you know what happens? In a game that's a struggle, this team now believes that no matter what happens, if they're in it at the end, they're going to win. Mm-hmm. That's what they believe.
Because it happens here. We all know that. Everything's won here first. And I don't think what people realize, and Kansas should know this before they get here, that game has already been won, right? BYU's already beaten Kansas because they've already played the game here, and that's our culture. Mm-hmm. And so those kids walk on the field, and all they're doing now is executing what's already happened for them. Whereas I think other teams are showing up and going, whew, I hope we can win this. I hope we don't lose another one. Utah's like, this is all we got. Like they came in with this almost desperate energy.
Yeah.
And you lose. Culture wins. And I think we as the fans have become part of this culture.
Yeah. You just believe.
We're starting to just feel it as if we were in the locker room stretching out and warming up. And, keep in mind the average college field goal is 36 yards and the average NFL field goal is 40. Mm-hmm. That was 44 yards. It's not an automatic gimmick. No. It's not the little one. That's a big kick.
And then throw some pressure in.
There can't be more pressure. The entire game, right, in the greatest game of the year and one of the largest rivals in the United States of America has come down to this kid and his foot.
Yeah.
And no time left on the clock for a redo. This is it.
It's totally nuts.
That's it. But that's the culture that he's thriving in. I just feel like the script keeps, every time we turn the page, something you would never write on a script because it wouldn't be realistic, keeps happening. That's the year we're having. We're having the year that could not happen. It is fiction come to life. As excited as I am that Will's getting all that attention, he got down to that place because a lot of unsung heroes on that offensive line fought like their lives depended on it after having had a really hard game. That's the culture. They know where they have to get Will to. And they're like, we'll do it. We'll get it done.
Troy Dunn with Cruising with the Cougs on the Wise Guys tonight, presented by Brady Plus and distributed by the Deseret News. Thank you for watching the Wise Guys.
If you like what you're watching, you can help us out by subscribing and hitting that notification button.